Hey, it's Shapes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest. We're going with the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out the past 2 weeks, from the 30th of April to the 5th to 13th of May. We're going to start with a couple reaction videos. A couple. The first one, I was like 10 seconds into it, and then I was just like, wait, I should react to this. SmallButera got a lot of animators together, including Egoraptor and Rubber Ross, to contribute to this Rock the Dragon animation jam. And I haven't checked it out yet, but thank you to Glowworm for posting that and reminding me. I'm just like, wait, but yeah. Let's check that out. Oh, nice. They're going for more endearing and try to avoid Toei by using the dub OP like this. Nice. I love the compositing on that shot. Oh, and that looks great. Yeah. I wonder if this was a uniform in the project they were like, can you try to aim for this type of thing? Oh, this is from the movie. Very cool. And well, it's not done. I knew this was the roll call of sorts. That was nice, although it definitely taps into this specific image of Akira Toriyama's work here, where it's a lot of things. You know, they're definitely not taking into the adventure aspect of the series. Too much of the there is comedy, but it felt like in some instances, some clips here, it was very much of like a parody of itself. Like it feels like something, you know. I'm sorry, Toyota commercial. You know those Mad TV Dragon Ball like Ora Oni doing his which are funny, which are great. Don't get me wrong, I like those a lot. But when it's a tribute thing, and there are several shots that are very like kind of sincere in the execution, I guess. And stylism and everything. There is some of that here, yeah, for sure. There's little bits here, that's fair. But a lot of it is like cool action, but mixed with like kind of zany comedy. And what was so interesting to me with Toriyama, and maybe this is a generalization of his work, it doesn't feel like a lot of his fights were interwoven with comedy all that much. Like this, you kind of have some kind of playfulness with like Goku kind of slipping a lot, or kind of the wacky faces or whatever. But I always thought that what was so kind of striking about Toriyama's stuff is his fights, and when his characters are serious, it's very dramatic and very like taking itself very seriously for, you know, a manga that, you know, starts the way it does, you know what I mean? And also from an author that started in gag work. So like this right here, like, it's endearing, yeah, but it just makes me think of like, you know, like Annoying Orange kind of parody Dragon Ball Z, and they're like, ah, and everything. I don't know, it just feels like a generalization a little bit. Nothing's wrong with that, really. I think it's iconic and endearing. I almost wish that the action was like this, you know, like that there's these kind of like this charisma to a lot of it, like some of this stuff. It makes you, it's like, oh yeah, but you feel like, it feels like Toriyama could have gone in this direction. And it feels like that's, I don't know, it actually more kind of feels like what Oda does now with One Piece, where he was realized when, sorry for spoilers, but like the final iteration of Luffy and his powers and everything, and even just his initial concept of being a stretchy, funny rubber man, everything is in Battle Shonen is so serious when it gets to this point, and it loses it. It's like you can't do both. It's feel like it's very challenging to do both without, you know, damaging the integrity of one or the other. Like you kind of ruin the lighthearted funniness if it's super, when you get this action and like kind of gory or a very serious dramatic thing. It feels like they're very like intertwined, but you totally can. It's just a delicate balance. It's just it is hard. But I think at least Oda, I think, succeeds. I'm not saying Toriyama failed in that way. That's just not what he was going for, I think, and that's fine. And he's able to still have lighthearted, fun moments, and the action itself is fun. Like it's as success as it is for a reason, you know. But just this animation definitely made me think about that, or just made me consider just that balance and how Toriyama does or doesn't really fall into that, and it's also just like how these fans see his work in that way, or maybe I don't know, where they were asked to do it and they were like, I want to make this or whatever, which is to their sensibilities, which is important because, you know, there's some people that are like, I can get really close to Toriyama's style and everything, this is how close I can get. But then there's other ones where it's like, I'll just do my thing with my style and that's great, which I it's great. Anyway, that gives me good food for thought. Next is a AMV that Zane made, just a dot, but the thumbnail had Dorime Dokkan on it, so yeah, we know what we're doing. We know what we're doing. Dokkan 49 specifically, but yeah, hopefully no. I don't. Did you mention spoilers? Whatever. Oh, I know the description here. Probably be in college or something. Sorry if you didn't need me to read that. But I did. I was curious. I like gleaning those sorts of things. Yeah. I dig this. Yeah. This is a mix of Sharp 25 or 26. One of the mid Sharp episodes, which is also goated. Oh my god, this is what, like, it's stuff like, it's material like this that I'm like, Hazuki's probably my favorite, but then you look at the series as a whole and it's Ormy, but still, it's like, holy shit. Oh my gosh, I've never heard of this instrumental really. I wish I had the restraint to make shit like this, in terms of like just cut to the little blanks and stuff. God damn. I always feel like I have to go over to a board, you know. This is actually going fairly chronological in the episode too, which is nice. It's good to relive it for me. This is a really great mix of the visual, like symbiotic. Yeah. I saw that the slight sync there. That's a long take too. That was a really good point to cut that to the net section. Yeah, you're not going too overboard with it, which is great. Oh, it's not quite chronological, right? Because yeah, you put the nice. Because it makes place with this part of the song. Good. Get interweaving right here. This is really smart. I feel like I can appreciate AMVs where I've handled the footage a lot, and I know what you're taking from and shit. Oh my god. Sheesh. That whipped all sorts of ass. I can't believe that was very, very, very good. Yeah, I never heard that sample before, or does the song, I guess. It sounded as much to be like a sample. It wasn't even. It didn't feel like a whole song, but yeah, it was, because it had multiple phases and everything. The phases were really well planned out. Yeah, I really liked how simplistic that was, but a very smart taking from elements of that sharp episode, but not going super crazy with. You know, you're not throwing Dokkan 40 in there. You're not throwing Dokkan 51 in there, or you know, biting off more than you can chew in this. You know what I mean? Really, really smart. Very thoughtful. Really, like, unconventional too, because I've never heard of the song before, but I listen to songs like that, I guess, in that vein, and I would not pit Doremi for a second. I wouldn't think of that at all, and so that sort of perspective is very, very fascinating and enlightening. It's mind expanding. Is the, you know, it's that type of shit. It's great. Yeah, I really, really, really liked that. Well done on that. Big ups. Thanks. That was great. And we're going to finish off with 3 janken AMVs that they posted throughout the 2 weeks that I was interested in all of them. I was interested in all of them. And I'm just like, okay, we're just going to do that. I mean, don't mind if I'll just play through. I'm not going to, obviously, be interstitched throughout, but yeah, I got it. Yeah, so this first one's La Pobre Leda, and the anime is Door into Summer. I love Natsuki no Tobio was Swimming. I haven't watched this movie in so long. This is good. A lot of these visuals are going to feel very fresh for me. I don't remember it being in 4x3, to be honest. Oh, I love that shot. I hope you guys understand already why I love this movie. These fucking visuals, bro. What the fuck? Oh my gosh. And it's the Apocalypse Zero director. The one that Trixie made Digi at the time. Made that his anime director Time Forgot video. There is a light attention to detail on the synchronization, but it's mostly just like, here's this good track, here's this good anime, that kind of vibe that I really wish I could like have the restraint to make. Oh man, this is really all you need to sell the movie, or a lot of anime. It's just the right music and the right, And it doesn't feel like he's giving away the main thrust of the movie either. I had this kind of a similar idea is of all the visual, all of the detail or the backgrounds in the Tenchi Muyo movie, or one of the more detailed one, I guess. I had an idea for an AMV like that, but it's just using those visuals because it's just like, and not even focusing on like the main thrust or content narrative type of thing. Oh my gosh, yeah, like that was yeah. That's just all you needed, really. Janken didn't even like go into at all like the main narrative thrust, which is another great aspect of the movie that I really like. But it is that vibe and the all of that was so sweet. It was so lovely. But we're gonna keep going right along. So this is a Ojimata Doremi, but so it just says Simon and Garfunkel, but I don't know what song it is. But I do also have a Simon and Garfunkel AMV song in mind. It's kind of on the nose. I'll give you that much. It's just an idea, though. Yeah, we're going with Naisho 11. Man. Time hitting a clock at it, like, ooh. Oh, this is a lot more literal. Yeah, this is cool. If you're not familiar with this episode, it is exactly what you're expecting. But it's done very, very, very well. Yeah, this is a good choice. This is a good... Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's... Sorry for spoilers, but you can get it. But it is incredible with that episode because it is... I can't disassociate from the fact that it's so clear where it goes that that's kind of inseparable for me. But it's just the way that it's like it knows it and it commits to it and doesn't skimp. Really like takes its time. Like you saw even just like her kind of visiting her multiple times and thinking about it, and I feel like a lot of other episodes that take similar subject matter, they kind of throw it out, they kind of waste it because they don't know what to do with the rest of the 20 minutes, so it can be kind of difficult, I think, with that subject matter. Anyway, the AMVs, like I feel like it's so kind of speaks for itself. It just kind of plugs, and it's just really in the construction that it's just like, yeah, that's how you would do that with that That's a great song. Great edits with very, again, loose synchronization, but like very on the nose symbiosis of visuals and song imagery when she's running the green leaves and her kind of themed around green turning to brown in the winter, which was which is like a motif that I didn't even really pick up on in the episode in the times that I've watched it. So extracting that from the song itself is fantastic. Yeah, this is like really cohesive as a AMV for sure. It's really great. And then this one is Perfect Day. Anime is Figure 17. I have no connection to Figure. I haven't seen Figure 17 at all. And then I'm not familiar with Lou Reed either. But the thumbnail just it's one of those things where I'm like, ooh, exposure to new thing that, or maybe think I had heard of, but I'm not I haven't seen it, I'm not familiar with it. And I'm like, oh, now I need to see that immediately. I love those feelings, so this is also why I wanted to watch it. I'm sorry, I'm watching 3 MVs, all of I couldn't pick one. I'm sorry, but yeah. God, the backgrounds. It's a very late late cell anime, but it's pretty close to DigiPaint era, but it's still cell paint, so it's very peak in that era. It feels like I don't know if the footage is slowed down or something. There's something kind of sluggish about it, which works in the pace of the song, but makes me think. Yeah, this one's a lot more deliberate on the edits, I think, in terms of the cuts. I could be wrong. Are these Shichiro Kobayashi backgrounds? I don't remember. Gorgeous show, though. Really nice looking. It's like this and... Shoot, I forgot. I'll probably put it on... This is the show I was thinking of. That was really nice. I got a feeling there's some death flags with that kid. I got some juju on that one. I was like, wait a minute, on the boy, because it's like I know the poster for Figure 17 has this girl as like she has like a twin. There's like there's 2 of them. I'm not familiar with this boy character, so I have no idea where this is placed. But I really like there's a focus on just the scene, and you literally go through the whole day. Really smart. Yeah, just focusing on one scene and aspect of it is something, again, another kind of like shortcoming on my end. Or not shortcoming, it's just different. I always feel like I have to take the whole piece into consideration. Like the whole movie has to be, or the whole series really. I always feel very holistic, but I really like that this is able to be so narrowly focused, hyper specific, and craft the whole sequence into a song like this. It's just, yeah, it's fantastic. Really enjoyed this. Very contemplative. Yeah, really nice. Anyway, I enjoyed literally all 3 of those for sure. All right, now for some videos I thought were decent. Pretty good. There's 1,000 stupid words. You changing your affy, huh? Yeah? To a raccoon? Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know. It made me think, made me wonder. Manga fan tries American comics, and it goes the way you would think, being like, it's so hard to parse, but I like that you went kind of even further and framed it in the personal experience. I went to the store. The guy told me this and this. This is what I was looking for. This was expensive. Found all the sorts of, trappings and stuff. And I'm not like a big American comic guy. I'm not, super team whatever. I know who Image Comics are, so I'm not like I'm not an outside. I'm not a noob, but yeah, but I know what you mean. And I did recommend a comic in the comments, which you asked for at the end. I suggested Bone, because that's one of the comics for me that's like, oh yeah, this is a good medium. Yeah, this is worth. Yeah, this is really, really good. Now don't snooze on Western comics. They do have their issues, that he goes through, which is they're all accurate. But I think the way he framed this, it's like it was whack. You just go to the Shonen Jump app. I'm like, yeah. Imagine you just didn't know about that, and the same experience that you had with like like you think of like parents who know that their kid is into anime or manga, and they're like, what do I do? How do I cater to my child's interest? How do I understand that if they hadn't grown up on it themselves? It's I think it's not to say ours is really totally accessible or easy, but it's not wholly impenetrable either, but neither is. I think it's just the same with any medium, really. If you have no idea where to start with opera, is there a mal for opera? or whatever. It's like finding, but the way you navigate through a medium is similar, where it's like, okay, what are the most popular ones? Okay, now who made those? Did they make anything else? What are their influences? And did they make anything else? With this studio, or there's ways to kind of branch, or this genre, etc. I definitely think that it's the comic landscape is wider, but the particular brick and mortar experience probably wasn't the most ideal or whatever, because it happens to cater to the people that are already in it. They're preaching to the already converted. There's the trappings, really. And anime and manga had similar trappings for a while because of the people who were running it. They were, that second wave, like, kind of like there was the first people that really were trying to get into the video stores at all. But I'm talking about like the more middle wave and like Texas era, Funimation, Tokyo Pop, and all of them. They were more into it and more avid. But they may have made it a little more inaccessible, or like a little daunting or intimidating, and like, where do I, But I appreciate that at the end you actually like caveat was, yeah, I should have just asked my friends for recommendations. Yeah, I should have figured there is a comic book equivalent to the Viz Shonen Jump app, and it's just the ways that you have navigated you got into manga is similar to how you can get in any medium. But again, all the problems of it being kind of a convoluted mess, and if they don't have volume 2 available, you can't read volume 1. Like, when you said that in the video, I was like, what if you were at a Barnes and Noble and you wanted to just try JJK and they didn't have volume 1? And you're like, you'd be screwed. I'm like, yeah, and you'd be screwed in manga if that was the same case. But then he's like, oh, it's just this app. And it's like, right. The DC, at least DC has their own app. I would figure Marvel at this point. I'm surprised you didn't mention like kind of one of the major advantages of manga is how it's being distributed as magazines. And the magazine itself, like you buy it at a gas station, is super affordable, and you're getting the latest chapter of like 12 different series, which are all like in the middle of things, but still, at least, and every comic artist is thinking the same thing. And Stan Lee, you allude to that, where it's like every comic's their first comic, even just the ones in the middle, like they just happen to pick something up, right? But yeah, I think it is just kind of navigating it and finding recommendations and tapping into the community and everything like that. But I think this was a good exercise, and I appreciated the storytelling aspect of this, and the candor towards the end of just like, I was going to scrap this because it wasn't really adding anything, and then here's what I've learned since then, which I think was fair. And then the visual of this itself making your own comic, I think was really smart and added to visuals. Although you were very descriptive with the story, I thought that the narration really carried it for a bulk of it. I think if it was just a bunch of still images, it probably would have worked as well. But I appreciate that you set it to the images that you did. But yeah, I thought it was a good discussion to be had. We watch anime. Trixie finally put out the unrecommendable anime That Rule video that she had been teasing a little bit. And obviously I'm interested because I like that shit. Kenya Boy? I haven't seen Kenya Boy yet, but the person you're describing is me, for sure. And I'd seen a good bulk of what you mentioned and recommended a lot, and not too many of the shorts, but yeah, it did get me thinking. If you let me know in the comments, or let me tell you, you've probably seen some of these, of course. But the ones that came to me were like, I went through my completed list, and I'm like, oh yeah, this kind of fits. Aside for the video, mainly is kind of like my number one in this category of things that like I only really show this to friends or people who would like maybe would enjoy this, and not like a casual like I'm new to anime, what should I watch? I don't know if I'd show them that, but it's yeah. But I love that one so much because it kind of opens their mind to what an anime can be, and so it's like, yeah, so this doesn't have any Japanese dialogue, it's all in English. It's all music videos, and it throws you for a loop a little bit. It's fantastic. Take the X Train. I've only seen it once, and I really should watch it again. But it is one of those kind of evocative visuals, and I bringing up how like in Urotsuki Doji or what are some of the shorts you were mentioning. Like I don't even know what it's about. I didn't care. I was just there for the spectacle, you know. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely the play with a lot of these. Or Ronnie the Cat Player, it's not as like sensational as the kinds of ones you're talking about. It's like, this is unrecommendable fucking Chocolate Panic Picture show. It's not like that. Like Ronnie the Cat Player is this very soft, cutesy, Christmassy, but they're playing cats like they're instruments. Like they're playing them like a guitar. You know, and I'm like, oh. But I you know, that's one of it. I guess maybe I'm recommending what the fuck anime or whatever, but you know. You had mentioned Shoujo Tsubaki. I actually changed my rating just as I was going through this list. I saw I had put Shoujo Tsubaki as good, and I bumped that up because I'm like, no, that still sticks in my mind, and I'm still like in awe of that that anime in terms of just unabashedness and the artistic beauty, in spite of how ugly and deplorable, sick and twisted experience that it is. The fact that you could clearly it's crafted with such care, you know, that it is telling a tragic, sad story that does kind of turn up almost, but it's like that then something very sad happens. But it's the entire thing, except like the ending, which I find to be a little uplifting. A little, I like to think it. But I was going to mention Kagirinaki Rakuen, or Eternal Paradise. This hadn't been viewable for a long time. We knew about it, you know, this director, creator. It's obviously not the same. Like I believe Shoujo Tsubaki is based on a manga or an existing property, and he's just adapting it. But this particular director, completely him, and kind of based on the student protests in like the 60s. I believe the 60s or 70s, but I think it is mainly the 80s. And very raw. It's very similarly like lavish and impressive and evocative, and yet has the like, yeah, I made this in high school, you know, and it has that like almost the tangibility of like, oh, I could make something like this if I really brute forced and did it this way. I guess it's just very fascinating. I don't know if you've ever seen Piece of Phantasmagoria. That's not like, again, it's not like, whoa, you know, like fucking, it's another one, a Cat Soup, I guess. But that one, it's really weird. Or it's very conceptual, that particular artist. Obviously, at the Glass Ocean movie, and some other things. But these particular vignettes and the way that it's done, you never think of it. You would never consider, kind of deal, that something like this exists, and it's just so interesting. Not always the most like, wow, I'm enraptured by the story or something. Not really with this one. But it's not like Iblar Jakan, right? Which is literally just wallpaper backgrounds set to music for 30 minutes, which is, I'm not clowning on it. Good for them. Like that's cool. But I was thinking also Radio City Fantasy, which is similar to Cypher, which is like very music video esque. Just a lot of kind of zany visuals. Calm. I haven't even rewatched it in so long, but that's kind of, you were mentioning shorts, so I was like, yeah, like that. And then Calm is from like the one from 2007, very painterly, kind of like from like, it's, I don't know if it's the same artist as like House of Small Cubes or Diary of Todolf Riddle. Ugh, I don't know. You know, some of these shorts, you know how it is, going through the trenches of Mal in this way. But Calm's really nice. Calm's really sweet. And then Prism Season. I just watched this recently, but Hayden, I believe, was the one that uploaded it, or somebody recently just got around to it. And that's very, again, nice visual set to music type of thing. Specifically like this like fairy thing. Yeah, and I'm just like, this is vibes. This is vibes. This is what I watch. Anime. You know? Now we're watching anime type of thing. Iceberg Black, like down there. But yeah, I appreciated this. Very kind of casual throwback almost. Not always the best pristine in quality of like the visuals and stuff. It's kind of just throwing things. I noticed for iCity, it felt a lot like the early parts of the movie, which is fine. That's all you really need. But made me think about that sort of thing where it's very economic with the video craft here, which is what it is. But I appreciate that it's out there type of thing. Yeah, I really like the sentiment a lot. It's good. I got canceled over gushing over this anime. Clear and Sweet, talking about gushing over magical girls, specifically the idea of the ideation and how in watching magical girls and how it's kind of inextricably linked to not deviancy necessarily, but just yeah, this is sexy. Like getting the flat, like, you know, the things like I remember the moment when I was attracted to girls was this frame right here, in Sailor Moon, and I do appreciate like tackling this sort of thing, and it did make me think of it's like, this is Magical Girl. It made me think of how it's like I've been spending almost a year in the far opposite range, or kind of purist, I guess. I think I find myself with the journey I've been on with Magical Girl series now to be very purist, to where like seeing stuff that's very actiony or indulging in the iconography of specifically Sailor Moon, which I think Magical Girls, gushing over Magical Girls feels like it is. I guess again from this video and what I've experienced of it, I definitely agree it's Magical Girl through and through. I'm not gonna disagree necessarily, but it's like yeah, this is a core appeal of it almost, is the ideation and like the not just like the purity of it, but as well as the body, you know, or just the outfits and the way that this is presented, specifically how Sailor Moon presented itself and how series after it kind of took those elements in particular, even just thematically with, as you mentioned, with Madoka and Homura's ideation of Madoka specifically, I think is a great connection to make as well. It's something that the genre has been building upon itself in this latter part of anime's history, when this is what I, you know, I don't want to spoil the video I'll be making next too much, but you know, I've been watching a lot of Sally the Witch and Aqua-chan, and I read from Ehoba's Origin of Magical Girl article, which is labyrinthian and completely comprehensive, so I will not be needing to make that video. That's fantastic. I'll be pretty much be citing from that article directly. But I really like that those two shows were pretty much made on impulse, or kind of on, not accident, but like making them as they go, because of the nature of what they're taking from Sally in particular, they were just like, we should make this. Like, we were interested in doing something like this, and Yokoyama just started making a manga like this. So they called them up like almost immediately and were like, let's make this an anime. And they said, yeah, sure. And so they have very little to work with. So the result of the 109 episodes of original Sally the Witch are very experimental. Not in like a visual way, but in a way of like, what do we do with this idea, with this concept? And they do tackle a little bit of the idea of like battling another magical girl or something, but it feels like what I noticed with specifically you talking about gushing, that I am aware of also with Aoba's article, is that what was a really major shift with magical girl media was the existence of a rival character or multiple magical girls. So in Akko and Sally, it's very explicitly just them that have any powers whatsoever. Obviously sequels are a little different, and Sally in particular has Cub as a kind of a little brother, like a little rascally type of antagonist. He's not really antagonist so much. He is in some instances, but it's not like a direct counterpart like Meg-chan. I don't know the full. I should know the name, but the character's Megu, Mega-chan. Her premise and coming from the magical world and coming to Earth and training to be the next queen, and there is a rival to rival that position, and their dynamic was really integral to the rest of this. And I think that's the kind of dynamic I think you're tapping onto with Gushing, and the dynamic with the villain and one of the characters at least, and the playing with these tropes of like, oh, the main leader magenta character has this particular personality, etc. Yeah, I think it gives a lot of food for thought, and appreciate you still tackling this despite the complete dismissal of this show to the point of ostracizing you from communities. It's really shitty. I mean, I can't speak for your. I don't know if it was just the way you behaved or something, but no, that's just dumb. That's if it was just it's like, I like the show, and they're like, fuck you, and they ban you or whatever. It's just they weren't worth being in the community, period, if they were gonna act like that. So they're lost. Anyway, yeah, I appreciated you talking about it like this. Was it just me? This is not a huge complaint at all. Was it just me, or is your mic different, or some audio thing different? It felt like it was a little more muffled or something. I don't know if it was any different, or it's just, yeah, sorry. If it's just like, I don't know what you mean. This particular, just something felt a little more scuffed about it, I guess. But not to detract it or anything. It's just something I thought of or kept to. It's like, it's one of those like awkward, like, that it's not a big deal. Anyway, yeah, appreciated this video a good deal. Puff the Pirate having a pretty standard but good Hoseki no Kuni kind of thematic summary video, The Human Burden. I don't think it's focuses so much on that idea of human burden, really. It is just that kind of going through Foss's transformation and journey and change as in the different phases, which is really the strongest and most telling type of notable aspect of the series, besides its all of its stylistic qualifiers. Really gorgeous series, and I actually did read all of it before watching this video. Over the very few manga that is the case. But I think it went through the motions pretty well enough, and I think the implementation of the visuals was fine and good. I appreciate you didn't really need to use the anime too much. I don't think you did, which is good. I guess it was just to keep it like focused and everything. But yeah, it's just, I think what made me think of with the irony of these immortal beings and things not changing. Things could happen 200 years can pass, and for the reader, it feels like the next day. It doesn't feel like that many years, but then it's the way they talk about it. It's like, yeah, I had this experience, and it kind of like hand waves it almost, where it's like, we need to get that out of the way, but just give you the context. This many years has passed, or this many years has passed. How like all these beings, not the sea creatures necessarily, but they're very minor character, all things considered. But the way that both the Lunarians and the gems are so immortal, they are immortal, and how that affects their personalities and characters, and juxtaposing that with, like you said, the seasons, showing that time is passing despite them not, changing that much, and the main character going through such a metamorphosis and evolution, showing that progress in a world that moves very slowly, if at all, like these gems, like that some of like no, I'm thinking of glass. They are solids. They're not necessarily moving. I'm stupid. But I'm thinking of certain like elements or that like crystals or whatever that move very slowly. But I think I'm just thinking of glass, and I'm stupid. I'm sorry. No, but I was, yeah. But the juxtaposing of that, your video just made me think of that with the series. Yeah, and I like that you didn't have to like talk too much about other characters. It was as it relates to Foss, or as it relates to what you're talking about in the themes of it. But yeah, in terms of like, early thematic overviews of the whole series, this was one I appreciated and caught my eye, was willing to take a chance on. Yeah, I did really enjoy it. And replay value, with my completely normal obsession with villainous stories, I will say off the bat that you do put in the as a pinned comment that you've retroactively added what the names of each of these series are in like the Canadian subtitles. So you have like regular closed captions, and then you have the Canadian a different caption track to show like what the series you're talking about is. Because then I would have otherwise kind of. It's not a great fix. I know what you mean though, because like I can't knock it completely, because it's like I had a section of my Girl Logon video muted like a couple of weeks ago or a month ago maybe, because of the music I was using, of course. So I swapped it with just music, and that completely erases the narration in just that 5-ish minute section. So I added captions to just that part. Yay! But so I know that you're kind of putting a band-aid on a video that has this kind of problem where, yeah, I didn't have that issue at first. I didn't think of it really, but like halfway through the video, I was getting very disoriented of like, what series is that? There's a lot. You have in the obsession is clear. I think you make that very clear of just how much of this genre that you're throwing at us, and a lot of them look very similar, and that's fine, because if you're new to anime, probably a lot of them look similar, or a particular genre. Like if you're not a mecha fan, and then you show them a bunch of robots, you're like, this doesn't look. They all look the same or whatever. I think that could be kind of what's going on almost. But yeah, I did find it very like disorienting of like, which one is this, and like keeping track of definitions and what it's doing and why it's so good. I think it was kind of a flurry of passion and information. But all that being said, I think it's great to have this as a video, as a focus, I think, and embracing it and showing that it is a genre, because you need a lot of examples to fully flesh that idea out and examine it and identify it really. But at the same time, I'm happy that you didn't necessarily go into like full like origins and history of it, or like this is taking from this or whatever. You really just kind of went with the one that everyone went into, and that's that's like the dam breaking moment, I think is what you called it. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because that's the one I know of. Because when you say like villainous stories, that one, like my Second Life as a Villainess, I think is the name of it, I guess. But brown hair girl, blue eyes, like that's kind of the only one I know. That's kind of the only one that's like, yep, that's a genre. But definitely approved it the way that so many of them and so many variations and twists on it. And like you said, hammering a very particular niche that is dabbling in multiple genres of fantasy, medieval, kind of court, like royal court type of thing, like Rose of Versailles type stories, like regal shenanigans, romance. I guess historical drama is what I'm trying to say. Stupid. But also isekai, because a lot of these, not in isekai is obviously a broad term for this, but there are some reincarnation stories, but there are also within like kind of more time travel stories of like, let me fix, because the audience knows I've been wronged, let me go back and do whatever, almost like Count of Monte Cristo. I don't know how much you could would Count of Monte Cristo count as a, not to play that argument of like, is Narnia an isekai or whatever. That reminds me, yes, because you bleed it a little, like, Yona of the Dawn calling this a villainous story is like saying hot dog is a sandwich or something like that. You like apparently cut a whole 20-minute tangent, and I don't know how much you were exaggerating, but one of the comments does mention this too, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, you show the graph and then don't explain, you very briefly, then it goes away. And it's like, I think that would have been a really great way of comprehending this this genre or subgenre. I'd say it's a genre at this point. It's not really so far away terms, but the idea with this chart of like kind of like this is or this isn't a villainous story, I guess. It's like if you weren't gonna explain it or do anything with it, then why show it at all? We could have just they take a little bit, or I don't know. But I get with like not making the whole video about that, because you really want to spend time on recommending things, and that's that type of video, which I think was a fair enough way of going about it. Kind of gushing over these particular stories, and I happen to look into, but I will say I will share one and it's kind of similar to what 1,000 Stupid Words encountered in trying to get into American comics, where I googled the Holy Grail of Eris, the last one that you recommended. That is like, if any of them, just this one, right? And I think I looked into it and like they're like, how do I read this? And they're like, there's this many volumes. And they're like, is this it? The main arc of these 3. And then the 4th one, oh, there's 8 ones. No, that's the manga. And then it's a little complicated. It's a little inaccessible, a little hard to parse, I guess. And I guess the anime, there are some that have anime and everything, that's great. But it seemed to me that it's coming from the same pool as Naruto. I don't know how many of these are Naruto, right? And I'm not trying to be like I'm anti-Naruto or something, but I guess I'm a little anti-Naruto. Only because, and I wasn't sure how, and I think I don't know if they have these. This one seems complete, which is good. But like the bulk of some of these you mentioned are ongoing. To me, I get the vibes where it's like, and this is why I don't really want to go into too many of these light novels or isekai and everything. It's simply that they are not complete stories. And I know a lot of manga is like that, and a lot of anime can be like that. That's why, and I'm trying to avoid that, because it's being strung along and not, then you'll forget or lose interest or whatever. I want the full thing, and a lot of these in this coming from this source, I guess it's difficult to whatever. So that's just my concern about it, really, or like my perspective on it, I guess. Why I'm not as like about it. But yeah, I think this is great to make. Again, I think the chaos of like, what series is that? You just put the title of it in the corner, but I know it was a retroactive thing. It was like, oh yeah, I should have done that, and let me fix it with this. But yeah, otherwise, pretty good. Best videos of the week. Ones I was pretty, yeah. Big fan. Blunova, Messy Beauty of Shin Kamen Rider. Very thoughtful, comprehensive, even-handed overview of this movie. I was fortunate enough to see this in theaters, but I'm mostly a Heisei and Reiwa era writer fan, Toku fan. Not that I'm like anti these Showa things. It's just the method of which I've watched a lot of these Kamen Rider series is with my roommates, and that's what they're interested. Right now, we're going through. We're finishing Agito pretty soon, and we're like halfway through Garo, the 2013 series, which we're just like, why did nobody tell us about this? We're loving that one, really. But yeah, like, watched this in theaters and really enjoyed it. I did have that kind of like, in terms of his, Anno's output of like, between Shin Godzilla, Ultraman, and Kamen Rider. I know he didn't direct Ultraman, but he was involved with it. Out of those three, I would say this is the weakest one, but that's not like it is still really good, and I think you pretty much articulated that in that way. But yeah, like all of the and like going through all of the references, and it's perhaps over reliance on the original show, where it's like even the original show probably aged the poorest compared to the first Ultraman and the first Sentai, etc. Or the first Godzilla, like Godzilla 54, stuff like that. I think was interesting observations to make. I will say that I don't know if I've mentioned about talking about your other videos. This one more than other videos I've seen of yours. You have this cadence to your voice. What did I was like, this is the exact cadence. It's Saber Spark. You have exactly Saber Spark's way of talking that always ends on this cadence of speaking, and every single time, every sentence, it doesn't matter, even pieces of sentences, they all end like this. And or, I don't know if that's quite that, but the tone. God, I don't know if I've barely been in your other videos or not. I don't remember, but it was just something about the delivery of it that just feels very boop 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 boop. I bet that's just me. Anyway, yeah. This was just like really like, you are the, like, if anyone's talking about Kamen Rider at this point, I'm not like a big. I don't know if you can answer this really, but like the Kamen Rider Toku YouTube space is probably really hard to talk about this stuff because a lot of it gets taken down. Like I noticed that like Toei is especially stringent on copyright for Toku stuff. Like you can't just show people clips on YouTube or look up certain songs or insert songs or whatever. You can barely find the OPs. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just like, yeah, look hard. I don't know. But I find it a lot more inaccessible on YouTube. This particular medium, this particular subset of things, Kamen Rider shows and Toku generally, I feel. So to operate in this space feels a little treacherous, I think. But I'm glad that you're operating in it and doing such an incredible job, like very thorough and again even-handed and smart about it. Yeah, I just really respect and appreciate this. This is very important work that you're doing. I've mentioned Rumic World's videos before. Particularly, I think I've talked about the Orbiting Rumic World videos. He does a whole variety of content revolving around Rumiko Takahashi. But this series always really catches my eye. and I'll shout out again to Glowworm for posting it. Just to be like, you should probably tell. I was like, yeah, you're right. But talking about specifically Ryoichi Kagami, as it relates to Rumiko Takahashi in terms of what this artist means to her, and what they've done together, and his creative artistic journey, and being so airtight, no just not a lot of ways of humor or tangents or that's as much character, but that's fine. Like, it's so purely facts, purely like information, just like this is why, this is who this person is and everything. Having great clips, like sourcing great images, and yeah, just so airtight, and like this is ideal, like platonic ideal of author bio overview type thing. I'm not to say that it's like immaculately thorough or something, like charting through his entire life or something, because it's not. It's only 11 minutes. But in terms of like, again, hyper focusing on as it relates to Rumiko Takahashi, I think it's just really smart. And again, no BS and everything. I think he makes very efficient and thoughtful videos for sure. It's just really encouraging to see that this kind of work is being done. I think it's really cool for sure. I had no idea that Moon Anime made motion manga. That was a lot of M's. I animated a full chapter of this insane manga. Biomega, which you mentioned is the same artist, or is it author and artist of Blam, etc. You know, that guy. I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah, I had no idea. But this was very trim, makes in the compact. I could tell that the chapter itself doesn't have that much in the way of dialogue, which I really liked how you handled the dialogue being this, like, it's not Japanese and it's not English, it's some gibberish, it's something, but it feels like you can, it's like kind of a made-up language almost, it sounds like it, or maybe it is like Chinese and I just don't know. I just don't know that. Okay, fair, you got me. Noob. No, I wasn't familiar with what was going on with the dialogue there, and every time I watch a motion manga now, especially with just the I guess now, not that I would say like, oh, I made them, I've not done something to this extent really, but every time I watch these now, I really think about like, okay, what is the existing drawing, what was its original form, and what had to be adapted to being a motion manga or a video. And I noticed Studio Taka specifically changed their branding of their motion comic into something else, of the animated manga, I think is what they called it. But it's not in the same puppetry, moving the panel in such a way. There's a lot more animation, like actual just animation in the Berserk, in that particular project. But this one, very economic in terms of like just letting the drawing speak for itself, and then the little UI stuff or slight flare of the eye or certain things moving out. But it always makes me think of like, what's the original drawing and what gets revealed. Like there's a shot with the guy's arms kind of like this, and when he moves up, it's like, was the original drawing him with his arms up like this so you can see his mouth, or was it like this initially and you had to draw his mouth? And like, what was original to you? Like that I added that, I manipulated it in such a way that it leads to this and this, but that follow through wasn't present in the original art. A little problem solving like that to communicate this sort of thing. It was always very interesting to me. But I think you chose a very, I really was enamored that it's not like you're choosing from chapter 1. You know, like, well, I gotta go from the beginning, and then it'll peter out. We'll never finish it, type of, because these things never happens, unfortunately. And it's like, but I appreciated this approach of just this particular chapter. You know, you don't have to. I think you said this was chapter 32. So like, I'm like, oh, in order to get to the one I wanted to do, I had to animate the other shit. No, you don't. You really don't. I thought that was really smart. economic of you, in just in a release form, and being willing to do that. Like, oh, are people gonna be interested, or was this worth doing in that regard? And I think it is. I really think it is, because it is a way of introducing people to what this stuff is, and that's the end. That's like the, I feel like the main purpose of this stuff at the end of the day is like, wow, I'm gonna go check that out, or or just re-experiencing it in a new package in a new way. It's like, yeah, I remember that, or whatever. Yeah, so it was really, really nice. Really. Again, I had no idea you made stuff like that, and that was very exciting and interesting and great, really great. So you could give that the best. You can call that best video of the week if you like. If it wasn't for me, my video. I made one too, guys. Okay. Proving the dub is 2 times better with math, and I have to make it like that because I don't want to get in trouble with but that's okay, whatever. It's not doing amazing, but I can't complain. There's several videos in this digest that would love the kind of views that I'm getting on it, whatever. Okay. Okay. But yeah, I'm sorry to make it about that. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. I'm also really I'm actually even more happy with just the speed at which it came out, because the project itself, the 8 streams, were only about a month and a half, maybe two months or so, or a little bit like that. And then a month of doing nothing because I was busy, and then the video turned around fairly quick. I think the script took longer to write than the video was to make, I think, which was like, that's how it should be. Damn it. But I've been really appreciative of people who reach out to me or let me know that they've seen it, even just in the comments or whatever. But just generally, the feedback and the acknowledgement is appreciated. But yeah, I just want to put that at the end because I'm very proud of it. But it is. I'll be transparent with you guys. I'll be real. It's getting harder to make this stuff when, like, I just got a comment like today or yesterday. 15 hours ago. Sorry to call this person out. When I'm like, why the fuck didn't this come in my sub box? Beats me, YouTube, huh? Anyway, I don't know what I'm doing. It may be like my thumbnails are ass, but no one tells me that. Or I'm just feeling at this point it's because I'm just making things that I want to make, and it doesn't actually correlate with what people want to see. And it's like, what is this? Or whatever. But like that, I didn't feel like that's what YouTube used to be like. The YouTube needs to be like this. Yeah, this is gonna be Shabe's complaining hour now. Like, yeah, I want to vent. Yeah. I'm really happy with how this came out, but I'm very unhappy with how it performed. And they're like, tough shit. That's all of us are going through. Yeah, YouTube sucks, bro. We know. I got a lot of value in making these trailers and these features and everything, and doing my job. I think that's probably what I'll just keep doing that. Not that I'm dangling that, like, oh, I'll stop making videos or something. Is I have a future thinking down, because I really want to do this for another 2 years at least, and I have a lot of ideas still. But this does not help. This is very hard, very hard. I think it's important to actualize these things, or just to say it. They're like, I am not happy with that, but I can't. Hard to complain when there's my peers aren't doing much better, or maybe they, I don't know. There's other peers that are doing fine, or as good as I would want to do, or whatever. Yeah, no, whatever. sorry to bitch. It isn't digest ain't room for bitching, or it is, or is it, whatever. That's why I put it at the end, so no one bothers. No one's bothering. Anyway, yeah. I hope you guys check that video out. It was a very good time. I appreciate everyone who has. that'll do it for this installment of AniTube Digest. Thank you very much for watching. You guys are great. You have a great 2 weeks. Yeah, I'll be able to, my future's a little up in the air right now. Let's just say that. Yeah, peace.